Hey there, Polars! In this video, I'm going to be teaching you a step-by-step process to achieving your first basic invert, commonly known as a chopper. Learning how to invert will open up so many opportunities in your pole fitness journey. These progressions aren't meant to be mastered over the course of one day. Listen to your body and only move on to the next difficulty when you can do the current one consistently and accurately. Each exercise will be repeated 3 to 4 times on each side from 3 different views. And with that, let's get right into the video. The setup for all these exercises is going to be exactly the same. Start by standing next to the pole with your hip slightly in front of it. The pole should rest behind you, but not too far, as seen here. Once you find a comfortable spot, stand on tiptoes. Your inside arm is going to wrap behind and around the pole so that it rests in your armpit. The inside hand should hold the pole at chin height, while your outside hand will come across and hold directly above that. Your instinct is going to be to reach up higher on the pole, but trust me, this just makes everything harder. Remembering to engage your shoulders down and together, all you're going to do for this exercise is flex your feet so your toes come off the ground. Try not to let your body fall too far away from your arms, because eventually the goal is to get your hips above your shoulders, and the further away they are, the harder it's going to be. That being said, if you find yourself sliding down because your hands are slippery, but you're managing to keep everything tight and close, don't worry too much. The grip strength comes with time and practice. Once you've got that side figured out, time to mess with your brain and do the other side. Again, you're going to stand next to the pole with your hips slightly in front of it. Stand on tiptoes and reach that inside arm behind and around and into your armpit. Your inside hand grabs at chin level, and your outside hand comes across to grab right above that. From there, engage the shoulders down and together and flex your feet to lift your toes off the ground. While I'm showing this same exercise from the next 2 angles, try to get 5 solid reps on both sides. Take as much time as you need so that you don't sacrifice quality for quantity. If you find yourself getting sloppy or fatigued before you can complete all 5 on both sides, take a break or even stop for the day. When performing these exercises, it's important to monitor when you're breathing. Focus on exhaling when you flex your feet and inhaling when releasing back to your starting position. This practice will carry over and become more important as the exercises become more involved. For this next exercise, the setup remains exactly the same as before. The difference now is that instead of flexing your feet, you're going to be engaging your lower abs in order to lift your knees. The goal is to bring them as close to your chest as possible, but if you can only get them halfway there to start, that's okay. If you find that these are pretty comfortable for you and want an added challenge, try turning them into repeaters. That is, don't touch your toes down in between each crunch. Remember to exhale when you lift your knees and inhale when you release back to straight legs. This next exercise is very similar to the last, except that instead of bringing your knees to your chest, you'll be bringing your knees to the outside of your shoulders. It's important to practice this knee to shoulder motion because eventually when you straighten your legs for the invert, they need to be in a straddle, not a pike. Again, as an added challenge, try turning these into repeaters by not letting your toes touch down in between each rep. The last step before straightening your legs into the invert is to start leaning back when your knees are by the outside of your shoulders. It's important to lean your head back and look behind you, because this will naturally guide your upper body in order to get your hips above your shoulders. Congratulations, you're officially ready to invert. The final step is to straighten your legs into a straddle after you lean back. Make sure you come out of the invert the same way you came into it. Bend your legs so your toes are together and tilt forward to straighten your legs again and touch your toes to the ground. By controlling your exit from your invert, you'll reduce the risk of overcompensation and even injury of your back. The last part of this video is going to outline some common mistakes when learning and practicing inverts. One common mistake is grabbing too high up on the pole. This makes it so that your hips have to be raised much higher in order to invert properly. The typical compensation for that is to basically perform a pull-up before even raising your knees, and who wants to add a pull-up to something that's already this hard? The next mistake is not looking behind you when you lean back. By continuing to look forward while trying to lean back, you're not only canceling your momentum backwards, but you're also limiting your backward mobility entirely. You're just creating unnecessary challenges for an already challenging skill. The next mistake is straightening your legs too early. By straightening your legs before you're already leaning back, you're changing your center of mass and making your shoulders and core work way harder to perform the invert. But wait, what about those straight leg inverts I see people doing? Well, maybe that'll be a video for another day. But for now, I'm here to help you master a beginner invert, so let's keep it as attainable as possible. This next example is more of a cheat than a mistake, but I'm still counting it. When you first start inverting, it's going to be so tempting to jump into the inverts. Sure, it might work and it might technically make it easier, but in the end you're doing yourself a disservice and relying on momentum instead of strength. Trust me, the sooner you focus on slow and controlled movements, the faster you'll gain strength. Speaking of slow and controlled movements, this last mistake is coming out of the invert too quickly or uncontrolled. I can't stress enough how important it is to practice coming out of your inverts with control. It's easier said than done, and you're bound to struggle at first, but by coming out of your inverts too quickly or uncontrolled, you're going to overcompensate with your back and potentially even injure yourself. Obviously, in all of these examples, I'm over-exaggerating and being a little goofy, but not only will these mistakes make everything harder, but they could also risk your safety. Be smart and be safe while polling, and thanks so much for watching and including me in your pole journey.